Welcome to For the Fans. I'm Kevin, and I'm here with CJ once again to take you through our Monday coverage of the Sunday episode. And this week, we got a super-sized Big Brother episode.
There was a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. We got an eviction, we got an HOH competition, and then we got like the fallout from the HOH.
And noms.
And noms, yeah, just like normal. It was a lot going on. One of my favorite parts, not to skip ahead at all, but was Julie ends the segment like it's a regular hour, and you only get Julie for an hour, and then the second hour is a regular Sunday episode.
It's funny because I watched with my wife, and she was like, wait, where's Julie going? There's a whole nother hour. I said, they filmed this on Thursday,
Yes.
like normal. Julie doesn't work on Sundays, so they just put the rest together.
Yeah, and then they go to commercial, and then they come back as if it was the Sunday episode, including the sound bit where Julie's like, "Good night, house guests."
Right.
I loved it.
And then it made me wonder, did they even tell the house guests that episode wasn't going to be live?
They did not.
Wow, so they just did everything like normal.
And why not, right? Why break up? Because the reason it was broken up was due to the trial, right? Which is a specific thing. It normally would still air Thursday, which is why the expectation was that they would still film Thursday. Right. And they would just continue to roll it, because it doesn't mess up their production schedule. It just messed up the airing schedule.
That's true.
So do everything like normal, have Julie come on, have it like be a live eviction. They're gonna wave. I mean, I was thinking about it, man. Time is nothing but a construct on Big Brother. Like these guys are staying up till like 5 a.m. talking game because they're there 24 hours of the day. So what does it matter if I sleep at 10 or if I sleep at 7?
Yeah, because realistically, the only time you have to wake up is when they wake everybody up to change their mic packs, and then you can go back to sleep.
You could rest, but they want you up like during like watching hours, right? So even if you're walking around sleep deprived and you're like napping, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, but watching hours is also now at like 4 a.m. because that's when these idiots play.
Yeah, and that's when they're getting things done. And we'll get into spoilers towards the end. But we have a jam-packed episode. But before we get into the episode, I want to make sure everyone knows when we get to 250 followers on YouTube, CJ, I don't know if you know this, but we're giving away a golden power of veto signed by a former house guest. How cool is that?
I want it, but I already subscribed.
So then, it's going to be everyone that is subscribed is going to have the opportunity. So get your friends, get everyone subscribed, get them in there. And then when we get to 500, whatever that is, we are going to give away a HOH robe along with another golden power veto. So get everyone signed up. Let's get following. Click the little bell so that you know that we're going to be on. Click the likes and the comments. It's going to bring our podcast and our show up on the ratings. That way we get more subscribers for the show. Right? Yep. Let's get into it. Episode 7. We start off with Pooch in the house, and we find out that Pooch and Taylor are still on the block. Pooch has a little meeting with the Oasis, and he is thrilled to still be on the block because he thinks he has the Oasis having his back, and he thinks Oasis with the petty girls are going to keep him safe. My man is far confused about what's going on in this house.
It's funny because Pooch was right. These girls are super petty, and even though we think they're working together, they're never going to get anything accomplished because they hate each other.
And they hate Taylor. They hate Taylor for no reason. So he's sitting next. He kept saying it, public enemy number 1. So
yeah, and it's funny because he didn't even think Taylor was public enemy number 1, but the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Correct. And Taylor's like, hey, I know I'm safe this week, so I'm going to keep pretending like I'm going home, but I'm not going home. It's just this whole push and pull going on.
Yep.
That's and poor Pooch kept in the dark. He was like out there like a stray. You know what I'm saying? Running around without a leash. You know what
Yeah,
I'm
he was
saying?
like, this is great. I volunteered to be a pawn. I'm gonna still be here come Thursday night. I got nothing to worry about. Spoiler, Pooch, you have a lot to worry about.
There's a lot to worry about, Pooch. A lot to worry about. Next, we get a little bit of a showman segment. How do you feel about showmances, CJ?
I'm not a fan of showmances, only because if it's a showmance to be a showmance, I'm not a fan. But if you guys are gonna like date after the house, whatever, I'm here for it. Find you a partner, because there's nothing like immediately living with the person that you're dating to figure out if you actually like them. So
I agree. We get a little bit of a Kyle, Alyssa flirting. Alyssa got that little dimple. She is cute. She's a little cutie right there. And Kyle's tall, so that makes sense. That's what she got going on.
Yeah, he's tall. He's kind of nerdy, but he's still attractive.
And he's
She's
nice.
Like, that's my man. I'm
gonna
go catch him.
I'm gonna go catch him. And so they're flirting throughout the house, and you see them playing around. I think that this is the showmance because I think the show loves showmances.
The show loves showmances.
They've had some success. They've had more successful relationships than 30-something seasons of The Bachelor.
But you know why? Because they immediately live with each other.
True.
So I mean, my favorite is actually when showmances blow up in the house.
And they break up, and then you're like, "Ooh, this is tough." I mean, you have like Bailey and Swag. We have Cody and Jess.
Yep.
We have Dominic and Danielle, Jordan and Jeff, Rachel and Brendan.
Yep.
So many showmances, so little time. They're very successful relationships outside the house, and they keep it going, which is really cool. Tyler and Angela. I almost forgot about them. Tyler and Angela. Want to make sure I give that level 6 some love. So the show thing, the next one's going to be the great Kyle and Alyssa. I don't know though. They're cute together.
Well, it was very telling when they were talking about Kyle's beliefs as a former Mormon, and he talked about the no sex thing, and Alyssa was almost like, "I'm done with you."
Yeah, she's like, "Come again?"
Yeah, and he was like, "Wait. Like, I could talk about it. I'm an open book." I'm like, "Oh yeah, so you definitely see that in the future."
Oh, and he was also like, "By the way, no longer Mormon."
Yeah, no longer.
She was like, "Oh, got you."
Yeah, I mean, his only concern about that is embarrassing his parents.
So we get a little bit of showmancing. Next up, we got a little bit of Turner. Turner is a man of many talents, I guess I should say.
Yeah, so how do you figure out that you like? I can kind of understand figuring out you know how to lick your elbow. Like, that's something that kids just do. But like, can you lick your elbow? Let me try. Haha, you look stupid. Except he actually can lick his elbow.
Can't do it.
How do you figure out you could say all 50 states and
alphabetically
in 15 seconds?
Yeah.
And then who cares enough about that to make it a world record?
Right. And then you see him do it, and he breaks his time. Not officially. It's unofficial. It's an unofficial 13 seconds. But he breaks his world record just on the fly.
Yeah.
No warm-up, no practice.
Yeah, I don't understand where this talent comes from. How do you measure it? Like, he sounded like an auctioneer. And in a game of talking fast, like, he's going to be the king of conversation in this house.
Right. And he just goes, which I thought was interesting. Props to him. Once again, though, we get the Turner segment to me was odd because you just got it to get it, right?
That's what it looked like at the time.
Right. And if this is the Thursday episode, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Right? Which is interesting. I guess you got to get them on the TV at some point.
I honestly felt like that served as an introduction because having seen the entire episode, knowing that Turner becomes HOH, you have to actually introduce him to the crowd because he's had very little diary room time on the previous episodes.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And this was important. CJ, with it being a 2-hour episode, I really just want to let's get into it, right? Let's dig into it because we have Turner ends up becoming the HOH.
Right.
We're going to continue to go through the beats, but Pooch goes home. We have a new twist, and Turner becomes the new HOH, right?
Yes.
One of the things Turner did say, and this is not spoilery, but he says he's excited because he's going to get more diary rooms because I guess he's been wanting diary room sessions, but he hasn't been a part of the action. So since he hasn't been a part of the action, they haven't needed him in there to tell what's going on.
So it's funny because watching the feeds, you do see them get called to the diary room, go into the diary room, and they talk about it amongst themselves of who spends a lot of time in the diary room.
Yeah.
And they don't know if that's because they like you or you're playing a crazy game or maybe you're setting up a segment. They don't know why you're in there, and you could tell them whatever you want to tell them because you're in there.
Right.
So I could see why in previous seasons it's causes suspicion within the house because it's if they want to talk to this fool 2 hours every day and they talk to me 15 minutes once every 3 days, America probably likes him. And if America likes him, that's a problem for me.
Right. Especially if you're not aligned with them. And so him saying, cool, I won this thing. I'm going to be able to have more diary rooms. I thought that was very, very interesting and very telling of what they think of him. The production team thinks of him in the house. Another thing that I thought was interesting was that Turner is still left in the dark about the plan going forward during the week. This is before he's HOH. So both Joseph and Turner have no idea that Pooch is going home, right?
Right.
Monty,
they're on the outside because they're not a part of the girls or Pose pack, which at this point is 11, I think, of the 15 people or have at least a finger in those two alliances.
Yeah, everyone except for Pooch, Joseph, Turner, and Taylor, right?
So 10 out of 14, which, by the way, can we talk about how sad it is and how stupid they're going to feel when they get out of this house and realize they named an alliance after Paloma, who everyone hated?
The internet hated, yeah. Everyone in the real world. And that's going to be an interesting, there's going to be quite a few notes apps, you know what I'm saying? Apologizing for some things. But they named this group Pose Pack, and Pose Pack is filled with the alliances is Monty Kyle, Michael, Amira, Nicole, and Amira, Nicole, and no. Amira, Nicole, and Alyssa. So that is Pose Pack. And this alliance is low-key running the house, right? Especially this one. But it's a tenuous situation because Monty does not want Pooch to go. Right. And we see that blatantly, right? Pooch stays on the block. Monty doesn't want Pooch to go. And he essentially gets strong-armed by Nicole and Amira. First, before he's strong-armed, though, Taylor says that she's coming for Monty. Amira then tells Monty, Taylor's coming for you.
Well, that's the thing, though. She didn't actually say she was coming for Monty. What she said was she would prefer if he didn't make it to jury.
No, she said he wants to backdoor you. She wants to backdoor you, is the word she said. Because that's the truth.
That's what but it was that's how, not this is my number one priority.
True. But we're in a situation right now, right? Where there's two people on the block. I'm trying to convince you to get rid of this one. The one that is actively going to come for you, so says them from their mouth. Yeah. Words to the lips. Why, if I'm Amira, why am I telling you that? And she said, I probably shouldn't have said that. I'm trying to convince you that getting rid of Taylor is better for getting rid of Pooch is better for our game.
Yeah. But you're painting a target at the other person.
Right. And not just painting a target, she's lined up to get fired on. She's in the line of sight. So terrible, terrible move, which then leads to Cop Nicole coming in and saying, I don't even know why we're talking about this. Pooch has to go. Me and Amira do not feel safe for our games with Pooch in this house. You're in an alliance. You can't just tell them what to do. This is poor gameplay by Nicole and Amira.
Yeah, because either you have something going on that you're not telling me about, or if you're not asking for my input in this alliance, that means I'm at the bottom of the alliance. And neither is good for my game when I have multiple alliances going, including this dude you're trying to get rid of.
And while they're trying to figure out, is there other things going on, you have Alyssa, who, because of her crush, she wants to trust Kyle. So she's just giving Kyle information that he can use against her. And Alyssa tells Kyle that, hey, I'm just going to tell you this. There's the Girls Alliance. Everyone's in it except for Taylor and Nicole. But like Nicole's kind of in it now too, but Taylor's definitely not in it. And so we're trying to save her so she can go after one of you guys. Why?
People do crazy things when they're in love.
It's just, even if he is not thinking of his own personal game, Kyle, that kind of information cannot be shared, even if you do care about him, because you're not trying to take out Taylor right now. Yeah. Why are you guys giving this information about the person you're trying to convince them to take out or not take out?
It's funny because, like, I think what they're thinking when sharing these stories is that we want you to know that Taylor's on the outside. But what they're also doing is telling the dudes, hey, you could work with her because we're not.
Even worse,
no. Because it's a game of numbers. And at the end of the day, if it's 7 dudes and 7 women, and I could pull a woman to my side to make it 8 against 6, I'm going to do it every time.
Well, to me, it's even dumber than that, because if Taylor's not on the block and you're giving this information, then I see what you're saying. You're painting this target. You're just getting someone lined up. Taylor is in their line of sight right now. She's on the veto has been played. She did not win the veto. She's still on the block come Thursday. Why on earth, if I'm Monty or Kyle, would I not take out the person that's actively coming for me when we know that Pucciarelli, the puppy's not coming for us? We can throw down a little steak and he's going to be fine. Why on earth? How does this work for these ladies? It's a poor game move.
It is. There's not very many of them that are playing very hard yet.
Are very smart because like I said, I go back to the fact that the idea is not bad. The timing is what's terrible.
Yeah.
Right? Is that you're decided that you want Taylor here for a specific reason. Mainly you just want Pooch out. You need to get these boys on board. Why would you then tell them that the other person that I know you guys don't want to vote out this guy, you really want to vote out that girl, and you're probably right because she's coming for you. But you can't vote her out because we need her.
Yeah, I don't have an answer. They're not very smart.
No, not at all. And Monty and Kyle don't want Joseph to be left out, right? They know that Joseph is on the outs, but the two of them are working very closely with them due to Oasis. So Monty and Kyle inform Joseph that in fact they will be voting out Pooch and that he needs to get on board.
Yeah, and it's funny because Joseph, who thinks he's on the inside with these dudes, finds out, oh, they're making decisions without me. Again, this is what the problem Monty just had. you guys are out here making decisions without me, and then you're informing me of this. Like, what about my feelings on the matter?
Right. How am I not included in this? And then you get a new scene where Nicole says, we're voting out Pooch, and that's that. Like,
Right.
it's non-negotiable. Period. End of story, she says. Nicole got brought into this alliance. She was not even in this alliance.
True, but Paloma was leading the snake, and now they're kind of rudderless. So
Right.
it's a power grab. Nicole just stepped up to the leadership role because Amira is trying to puppeteer things. She's trying to move behind the scenes. You got Jasmine, who thinks she's in charge, but it appears like she's on the outside of the girls, even though she's in that girls alliance. And then Brittany, they tolerate. So it's really been Amira and Alyssa, mostly Amira, making all the decisions for them, but they don't realize it.
Well, you're right. It's even more insane than that to me, because Monty and Kyle's reasoning is sound. And
Yeah.
like they have the girls have did a great job of ostracizing and bullying Taylor, that she's on the outs. You then tell the guys that Taylor wants to take the guys out. Why on earth, if I'm Kyle or Monty, would I want to be voting to keep this person?
Right.
In addition, like you said, they're rudderless. Nicole can't just step into the power vacuum and then decide to rule with an iron fist, which is what she does.
I mean,
And
I'm sorry, but that's kind of just probably that cop background and being a chef. Like, you kind of boss people around at work. That's kind of how you operate.
correct, I get that, and I see that, because that's what she does here, and it's completely off-putting, because you need to endear your alliance mates to work with you.
And it's funny because up until this episode, Nicole's been getting kind of a sweetheart at it.
Mhm.
Like, she's not the young bubbly girl, but she's definitely been treated very well with her diary room sessions and what they've been airing of her. So now she's just coming in and she's like, well, this is this, and this is how it's going to be. I don't know if you edit that because you're trying to change the perception of her. And by that, I mean, like, are you trying to change the perception that she's actively playing the game and that she's in control? Or are you trying to change it that maybe she's not this super nice person we've been showing you?
Right. Are you trying to give her more depth? Are you trying to give a different characterization for what's going on? I think a lot of times they do that based on what the story they have unfolding. But at the time, Pooch is going home and Nicole's in a very good spot. So I don't think that's the case. So and you know, everything is how it appears, right? Live feeds exist. I watched this live over the weekend. Over that weekend when she strong armed Monty. That exact scene, I watched it live over the weekend,
Right.
last weekend. And I thought that was firm, but a little much, because now it has Monty and Kyle doubting whether they want to be here and working with these guys. You know?
Yeah,
Because,
it's funny because the guy's initial instinct was to bro down. And
yeah,
then you get in these cross alliances of male female relationships, whether the numbers are even or not. And they're like, okay, well, maybe it's in my best interest to go here, do this, do that. But their instinct, their gut instinct still remains, we need to bro down and save this dude. And the women are giving you ammunition to do it.
it's quite remarkable. And
And sorry, also, if they did decide to bro down, which we know never would have happened, but if they did, they could have had a shot at winning.
yeah, yeah,
But because, like the girls leaving two girls out of their alliance, the bros decided to leave two dudes out of their alliance. And it's
if
those four people are having a pretty big influence on the game, whether it's
They like it or not.
political.
They like it or not.
Yeah, whether it's political, whether they're in control, because you got Taylor left out, who everyone is gunning for, but nobody actually knows why. You have Nicole around here making moves and a bunch of different alliances and helping cross the streams. And then on the other side, you have Michael, who's pissed off he was left out by the dudes, who has won all of the vetoes. And then you have Daniel there, who came in knowing he didn't want to bro down. So it's like
Right.
you have you have what, 5-5-4. You have three groups that are pretty even, but you have the 2 5s making the decision while ignoring the 4 that could be on their side.
Correct. And thus we get to the eviction. At this point, everyone knows that Pooch is going home, except for Pooch and Turner, as we know.
Yeah.
They go in to vote. First one to vote is Turner, who says, "I'm voting out my final two, my final two, Pooch," which means that somebody did in fact inform him before the vote happened.
Well, based on what Pooch was wearing, and
Pooch
then
knew.
also the fact that in his speech he mentioned he'd like to stay in the house and change and do this competition, he knew he was going home prior to the episode, which means Joseph probably told him, and in turn Turner, because he was the last one to get the information that we saw as viewers.
Right. And so with him wearing his khakis and everybody else in athletic wear, you knew going in that this was not going to be a true blindside.
Correct.
Now, you did know it was going to be a bit of a blindside, because I'm sure Pooch found out that day.
Yeah.
When it's far too late to make any moves or have anything happen. That's another thing I want to speak of, though. Why not blind? A blindside is fine, because this guy's going to be pre-jury. He go home and watch what happens.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You don't need his vote. You should be, if you play Big Brother in the future, blindsides are fine, especially if it's pre-jury. It's much more entertaining for all of us, and you won't get in trouble.
And also, in the era of COVID, there's no battle backs. When they go out that house, they're gone.
Yep, they're in the world now. They belong to the world.
Versus in pre-COVID, if there was a battle back, somebody could come in and blow up your game because they now have information they learned on the outside world, however limited it may be. So
it was an interesting first hour, because you see the maturations of the gameplay. You see Paloma's pack be an alliance, but they already seem to have visible cracks. A lot to do with how Nicole and Amira handled this specific eviction.
And it's also funny because a lot of these named alliances from this episode, like the girls we knew about because they've given them airtime, but we didn't know. If you don't watch the feeds, you don't know about Poe's pack really existing prior to this episode. You don't know about the Oasis as a name prior to this episode. They haven't really been naming these alliances, and now you're starting to introduce more of them in what is turning into a pretty pivotal week with the, like you said, not blindside of Pooch, and now Turner, who was a true wild card in this house, stepping up as HOH.
Yeah. We get them going outside, and they're playing a souped up version of musical chairs, right? Yep. But before we do that, we find out that the twist that's going to affect the whole season, the Festy Bestie twist. Now, Julie explains what the Festy Bestie twist. Someone won HOH, and their bestie is also safe. Everybody is doing things. Julie says, let me leave my notes. Julie says, no festival is complete without going with your best friend. So we've introduced the Festy Bestie twist. And the way this twist works is that you're going to be paired up with somebody, and if they're when HOH, you got to both say if you're both the HOH, like the co-HOH, except the person that won gets to make all the decisions.
Right.
You're going to be on the block together. You're going to play in the veto together, if you're playing in the veto, and only one of you will go home. Initial thoughts on this twist, CJ? Without the results, just the concept.
The concept itself, I like what they're trying to do, but Julie touched on it in her introduction of it, in that normally we introduce twists at the beginning of the season, but this time we decided to do it 2 weeks in. As someone in the house, this could really blow up your game just based off of who you're paired with. Because, like, Nicole played it one way of, I want to sit next to Taylor because I know if we go up, she's going out. Brittany plays it as, I don't want Michael with me because I need him to protect me. And we could work with pairs to be protected instead of us having to depend only on ourselves.
So that's part of the concept. The other part of the concept, though, is that once again, just like Nicole said, if we go up, one of us has to go out.
Yeah.
And I personally hate this twist, right? This is, I mean, they've said on the internet, and it's the truth. It's Tiffany's master plan, which is a derivation of the brigade's plan to have parachutes. It's derived from that, but the beauty of those things, both those plans, both the master plans and the brigade's parachute plan, was that these connections were secret and they were only to that person.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that person knew how tight their alliance was, right? Like, if this was our situation, you would think that me and you are tight, festy besties secretly, but in reality, you're just a parachute to my alliance with Kylie and Sheldon and Mike. You know what I'm saying? And
there's no way to know that.
Right. Prior to this, exactly. And that's the point of it. So, like last season, when you have Hannah being very close to Derek X, or you have Claire being very close to Tiffany, or Kylan having SB, right? These people were their parachutes. They were their festy bestie. But it was, as far as when you look at it, Kylan and SB are the alliance.
Right.
But if you look further past Kylan in the distance, you see the cookout. You know what I'm saying? Because he's really loyal to the cookout, but everyone thinks he's loyal to SB, so you want to put him and SB on the block together.
And what it did was it allowed alliances to hide in plain sight before. And now you could, they're connecting the dots for you.
Yes, you didn't even have to do it. Like you said, it's a dotted line. You just have to connect the dots. And that's why I have like a little bit of an issue with it, because immediately Paloma's pack figures out, oh, there's a quick way to game this thing.
Yeah, we just can't sit together.
Yeah, and they figure that they cracked the case immediately with Nicole saying, Poe's pack just can't be together. Brittany saying, I don't want to sit next to Michael because Michael's my number one alliance member. Right. Little does Brittany know he's in Poe's pack, so he's going to sit next to Brittany because he knows that she can cut that parachute quicker if need be. You know what I'm saying? Through the Poe's pack. And so the comp starts. It's the HOH competition. It's called Get Lit. After Julie tells them this, they find out that the way that the Festy Besties are going to be determined was that as you get eliminated from the competition, you're going to be able to pair with either Jasmine or go sit in an empty chair, or if there's already other Festy Besties, you can sit with one of them. Right?
Yes.
I also hate the fact that they didn't randomly assign their besties.
But it looks like interference from production if they were to do that, unless you do it like you do a veto competition and they draw chips out of a bag. I would have been down with that. I would have loved that. But I like how they gamed it here, only in the sense that while you're competing in the competition, you got to make a decision. do I want to be HOH and have true safety? Or do I want to try to game the system for however long? Because we don't know how long this twist is going to last. Usually twists last up until about jury, but there's no way to really know.
Well, Terrence Armstrong of Rob Had the Podcast, great podcaster in terms of Big Brother, he made a very good point that these kind of twists do nothing but help the big majority alliance.
Yes.
And that's exactly what happens here. Immediately they suss out, okay, well, we can't sit next to each other, so we will sit with these other people that we are not working with, and that way we have the parachute to cut. Boom, easy, simple. But
So,
if you do it randomly,
you and I both think that way. How would you
they did
feel
too.
if? Well, I was going to say, how would you feel if you're in the house and one of these idiots in your alliance sits down next to you when there's empty chairs?
I would think that they're doing something else.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I would immediately not trust them, even if I was working with them, unless they were truly my number one. And even then, I'd be like, oh no, maybe I'm not their number one.
Yeah, because I'd be like, you're willing to say that, because Julie lays out the fact that they will be going on the block together, and one of them will be going home.
All Julie did was play him a clip of Tiffany on the chessboard.
Yes,
that's basically what she did.
That's it. She explained it, and by doing that, it set them up so that way they knew exactly how to play this thing, which is why I did not love it at all. And as the competition goes, we see immediately why. Terrence is the first one to drop. He does not want to be paired with Jasmine because Jasmine has a sprained ankle. She pretends like it's a broken foot, but she has a sprained ankle, so she can't really do much, right?
Yeah, so this is another conversation the wife and I had while we're watching this is, so Jasmine is emceeing because she's the outgoing HOH and she can't do the competition. And she was getting more and more annoyed as more people didn't sit next to her. But after watching you with this sprained ankle for the last week, number one, I don't know what you can compete in because there's competitions production will not let you do.
Right.
Then there was a competition you could compete in and you opted not to do it, which tells me you're not a competitor. And then you had this sprained ankle and I just watched you basically boss people around all week asking them to get you stuff because you couldn't go get it yourself instead of trying to gut it out and, be a productive member of the house.
Right.
I want nothing to do with you. And that's not my personal opinions. That's just, I can't be partnered with this person.
Right. Like you just, it doesn't do you any good.
Right.
It doesn't do you any good. And so Jasmine's continuing to sit there. First person out is Terrence. Terrence decides to go sit in his own chair. And the logic is sound in the diary room that maybe the person that's last, the HOH winner, will pick him. Yeah. And then they can be paired together. Mm-hmm. Next out, I think, was Indy. Right?
Yes.
After Indy was out, next was Brittany.
Or maybe it was Brittany then Indy. Either way, they both sat by themselves.
Yeah, both sat by themselves. Michael then looks and says, it's probably best for me to get into a pair sooner rather than later. And I'm looking over there, and Brittany is a great parachute for me. We already do work well together, so if we have to do stuff together, we can do that. If we don't work, if we don't win and we have to go on the block, I know I'll be safe due to reasons post back, and that's the last thing Brittany wants, but he goes and sits next to her. We have the next one out is Taylor on a false start. She actually takes her finger off the button. She goes and sits by herself.
Yeah, you could tell Taylor's was very inadvertent. She was mid-diary, like, oh, I'm about to crush this thing, and then nothing.
Yeah, maybe before Taylor goes out, Daniel goes out, but Daniel goes out soon around there. Then you have Nicole throw it, so that way she can go sit next to Taylor. Because she decided she was going to jump on that grenade. And I say that in the most loving way because Taylor has become persona non grata. And and this has been weeks now, so she knows that if she sits next to Taylor, she can always be safe,
Well, it's funny
according to the
because
formation of the house so far.
they Nicole very much was looking at it not from a like, yeah, I'll do this for the team. It was I want whatever power comes from her being eliminated.
Right.
Which is a great way to think about it, but that might also be a punishment.
Right. It was an interesting decision because by doing that, it puts you in a place that you're also like kind of greedy.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're not thinking about the team. You're trying to be doing this with the team. You're working together. So, and people want you to have the power or whatever. They're working with you, and you're claiming you're going to use it for the group, but like, there's no way for that. I know that.
Yeah, right? It's the thing that it's like you have to work with it as an individual within a team concept and an alliance. You can't be doing too much for yourself because the others are going to start being suspicious if you really are on their team or you're on somebody else's.
Right. Right. And so you have Nicole pairing up with Taylor. We have even going through it at the end of the day, the last three that are left are Alyssa, Amira, and Turner.
Right.
Right. At this point, we have the pairs of Michael and Brittany, Monty and Joseph. We have Nicole and Taylor. We have Daniel and Kyle at this point. Indy is left sitting there by herself. Terrence is by himself, and Turner is by himself. I mean, and Jasmine's by herself, right? Alyssa sees this as a 2-on-1 situation because she knows about Post Pack, and she's got the Girls Alliance. So getting rid of Turner, it seems easy.
Well, right? It's regardless if I win this or if Amira wins it, I'm winning because if it's me, I'm doing the cutting, and if it's her, I don't get any blood on my hands, and we're doing the same thing anyway.
Right. And that's kind of like how that plays out. So she drops and she goes sits next to Indy, Alyssa does, which leaves Amira and Turner left. And in an almost photo finish, Turner beats Amira to the chair, and Amira ends up taking Terrence. So Turner is now paired with Jasmine.
Which we didn't get a reaction video of Turner having to be with Jasmine, probably because he was so excited to be HOH, but I would not be happy about that pair. And I would understand why it happened. Because really, the person with the most power after Turner was Amira, because she got to decide who was safe based on who she sat next to.
Right.
So she gave Jasmine safety.
Which is smart on her part because that is a person that she's with.
Yeah.
And she wants to make sure she's safe, and she can't really move, so she wanted to put her in a good spot with the outgoing HOH. As the outgoing HOH, it's smart.
Yes,
it's smart. And so the HOH competition is done. Turner is the new HOH, but the biggest problem is that Turner just got blindsided with his number one ally going out in Pooch and nobody wanting to like fess up, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of people trying to get to the bottom of things in this house, and I'm like, instead of trying to get to the bottom of it, why don't you just do what's best for your game?
Yeah, Ray J up in here, you know what I'm saying? Get to the bottom of this. And I mean, immediately, Joe and Turner are the last two to find out that Pooch is going home, right? I mean, the last two of the three, because Pooch was the last one to find out. But the last two that are still in the house to find out. So Joseph goes immediately to Turner and says, bro, we have to find how this happened. And we also know, I don't know if I remember in the episodes, but I know that it happened because they talked about it. On his way out, Pooch said that Joseph was a part of his demise, which he wasn't.
No, he was not. But that was in his interview. He said he didn't know who to trust, and Julie put the girls out there for him to see. But I don't know if he still believes it, because he's looking at it as, even if it was the girls, they still only had 5 votes, so which means 2 dudes turned against us. But if you do the quick math, you know that there's 2 dudes not in your dudes alliance.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think he's more confused because it was unanimous. Right. So it makes it hard to know who actually flipped against you and what your numbers would have been. Because if it was a 8-4 vote, he knows who betrayed him.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But it's not.
Right. And with it being unanimous, don't even throw him a pity vote, because they want to be lined up and in lockstep, because Taylor was letting people know that she was going to come for anyone that voted against her.
Right.
That is now the prime thing, is that Turner needs to figure out who voted, who was the mastermind behind this thing. Also, we get like a little segment where Taylor is happy that Nicole's her person. Nicole finds Taylor expendable. That's going to come to roost later. We'll talk about that later. But
we will, because it's funny, because I felt so bad for Taylor in that moment, because you have her talking about how excited she is to work with Nicole, and having watched the feeds prior to this twist, she was actively trying to work with Nicole. And to see Nicole's attitude of, I just picked her so I can get rid of her, is real sad to me on a personal level.
Right. There's a lot of things that are sad here that they're not showing on the show, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Turner gets his HOH room. He's crying. He got a letter from his girlfriend. It's very nice. It's very touching.
Yep. And
it's sweet. But the thing that really is interesting is that he has to now pick one pair to be have-nots. Single pair.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't get to pick. His Festy bestie does.
Do you think that they told him his bestie had to do it, or do you think he made that decision to give it to her?
It said it on the card.
Okay. That's what I thought too. But the way he said it made it sound like it was his choice to make her decide. And I was like, that's real mean.
Nah, the card said it. And he has her do it. And on the feed, she was saying she was trying to figure out a way that she could justify Nicole and Taylor being have-nots for reasons that we're not going to talk about, because Jasmine's just doing whatever. But Alyssa and Indy are the only 2 that have not been have-nots in the first 2 weeks that are paired together, because Jasmine didn't want to make anyone have to do it a second time. So which immediately eliminated teams like Nicole and Taylor, because Taylor hasn't been a have-not, but Nicole has. So it eliminated them. It eliminated most of the boys. Daniel was just a have-not a minute ago. So it only comes down to Indy and Alyssa. And Alyssa's like, all right, I guess we'll do it. And immediately Indy hates it.
Yep.
And I personally think have-nots are like irrelevant at this point. But when you can get a reaction like this, very relevant. I want to see it.
I mean, Indy's going to be hangry all week. It's just how, based off of that reaction alone, I'm like, this girl is going to be very mad about her lack of food. But overall, I think have-nots has ran its course. It's not even something they always show on TV anymore. They don't really have America vote to give them weird things like fish sticks or, pickles, things like that, as an exception to the slop diet. So I kind of feel like if it's not on TV and you don't care about it, we don't really need to do it.
Correct. It doesn't affect too much. It's not. I liked it. Okay, so in Big Brother Canada 10, there was a few days where like everyone's a have-not. They didn't have like, you don't have to pick. They would like go to get food and then the pantry's locked.
Wow. And all that's there is slop.
And they had to go get the slop out of like the other room or whatever. And like the refrigerator's locked and they can't get in the fridge.
That's brutal. I'd be so mad if I was in my HOH reign and that happened.
Yeah. It's always hilarious, right? It was always hilarious because they didn't know when it was happening. and then they would just be cold. The shower's just now cold. Shower's just cold. There's no food, and it would last for 4 days. And they would always say it like, "You guys, due to you guys all your lying and scheming you guys are doing in here, you guys are on punishment." And it was great. It was great because everyone's on punishment.
Wow.
And then in one competition, they had a slop pass that everyone's going to be on slop, or everybody's going to be a have not, except for whoever runs in the house and get a slop pass. And like, or you can answer the question. You had the choice. And 3 of them like ran and got a slop pass. They were not going to do it again. They did not want to be.
I'm not going to lie. I'd probably run and grab one too.
It depends if you feel like you need that HOH or not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you feel like you need that HOH, you can't go be getting a slot pass.
Well, I guess it's based on the Bestie twist. If I know that my Bestie is expendable, I'm getting that slot pass.
Yeah, it is what it is. So it was always fun in BB I think Have Nots is pretty much, like you said, run its course in BBUS. So I think they need to mix it up, try to figure something else out. But
I mean, if they did that, I'd be right there for it. Give me a whole week of them just being angry and show them complaining about the slop on TV.
Mm-hmm.
I would love that.
I did love Indy's reaction, right? And now this led to a fight between her and Terrence. Because Terrence is like, it is what it is. You gotta just deal with it, baby. And she's like, I'm gonna feel my feelings. Let me feel my feelings. And then I'm gonna be done with it.
Yep.
Do you think Terrence overstepped?
I think he was just trying to say it's not so bad as someone who has done it.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's allowed to feel her feelings, but I don't think he overstepped. I think he was trying to console her.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, again, nobody wants to not be able to eat and have to take cold showers for a week.
Right. True. And now Alyssa's concerned because with the Festy Bestie twist, she's upset and she thinks that Indy's freaking out is going to make her and Indy targets, which I think it would be a petty reason to make someone target. So I don't really think that was going to hold any water. But we get it on the episode, so.
But I mean, she knows if it's a dude that wins, they're going to try to influence it a certain way. But if the dude decides I'm putting up a girl pair so a girl goes home,
well, when this happens,
target Indy.
Turner's already the what's it called though at this point. Turner's already the HOH. I thought he's the one determining who's going up.
Right.
So I thought that was cute that they tried to put it in the episode, but I didn't feel like it was relevant for what we had going on.
Not at all, but it shows how weak gameplay-wise the season has been because they don't have conversations to show us.
True. Turner starts having his little one-on-ones and starts talking to people. He talks with the boys. He wants to bro down just like he has been. And he's like trying to figure out what happened. But before this, post-pack met. And Nicole wants to go on the block, but she wants to be backdoored because she knows that she can get Taylor out. And she's convinced there's a special power that will happen to whoever's the first one that lose their bestie.
I mean, I've never seen somebody so eager to go on the block.
This is not true. Season 13 or 14, Lawan was convinced that he was going to go out and be able to come back because there was going to be like a battle back, and he thought he was going to get a power. Lawan Exum, it was in Big Brother 13. Yeah. There was a dual twist there too, and it was an unanimous 6-0 vote because he was hoping to return to the game with a special power, and instead he had to go into a battle back, and Brendan came back, and
the rest
it was what it was. Yeah, it was what it was. But he was convinced that there was a power as well, and he was wrong, unfortunately, for my guy Lawan. He was wrong. But you got to sometimes risk it for the biscuit. So I thought it was interesting that Nicole wanted to go up to get a power. I don't know what you thought the power would do. It's not going to be like a coup d'etat or nothing like that. I think what's going to happen is that if you lose your Festy Bestie, you're safe for the week.
Yes.
And then when the next person loses their Festy Bestie, you're going to be now paired up.
That's what I was assuming it would be too.
That makes the most sense. The only other thing that could be is that if you lose your Festy Bestie, you're an automatic third nom. It's one of the two.
Or a third one, you're safe until jury.
Safe until jury is a lot. I don't think that's the case, especially because
only 3 weeks away.
Right, but which is why I think that you end up getting, if the Festy Bestie twist lasts a couple weeks, it would make more sense for you to be paired with the other person that's by themselves the following week.
Yeah.
So
you can't win HOH, but you're also safe.
Yeah, and that makes more sense to me, because if you get automatic to jury, that means the next person gets another week off too, and then they automatically get to jury. I don't think that works. And then, like, when you lose the third Festy Bestie gets lost, then that's when they drop the twist, and you're now in jury. So that's what I think makes more sense.
Maybe. I mean, we'll find out come Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think I don't see there being some kind of special power. I could see there being safety.
Right. That makes the most sense to me. So Nicole, I think, is a little off base, but she wants her and Taylor to be backdoored, and she wants the plan of Brittany and Michael to go up, because Michael's already won 2 vetoes. So that way they can win another veto in the worst case scenario. Because there's only going to be 6 people playing. So the HOH duo, the Nom duo, and then a third duo picked at random. The likelihood that it's going to be Nicole and Taylor is probably pretty slim. So she's like, let's backdoor me and let's put up the guy that's won a bunch of vetoes.
Yeah.
Sound plan.
Yeah, since he's the only one that has won a veto in this house, chances are good.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And if it's not, then the HOH wins. And then the HOH takes him down, and then we're good to go.
Yeah.
So that's the plan. Now, the part is getting the plan to Turner. So immediately Kyle, Joseph, and Daniel are talking to Turner, and Kyle floats the idea along with Daniel about Nicole's plan, which is a sound strategy because they're all working together. So they want to make sure that those names are out there. Turner, who is like a bloodhound trying to find who put his dog down, he's trying to figure out what's going on anyway. So he puts that a little bit on the back burner, and he likes this plan because he's not really vibing with Brittany. So Brittany going up is not going to really mess up his game.
Yeah. If Brittany goes home, it doesn't hurt him. If Taylor goes home, it doesn't hurt him. So he sees this as an absolute win.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So he's like, cool. We're going to do it. We'll put up Michael and Brittany. If they win the veto, they're going to come down. And then I'll put up Taylor and Nicole, and everything's going to be done. Boom, bang, in there. We get the episode. We got one key turn. It's Michael and Brittany. They're kind of aware that they're pawns. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's funny because I was watching live when Michael and Turner had that conversation about him being a pawn, and he's like, yeah, I'm not a fan of that idea. But you also assume that anytime someone tells you they want you to be a pawn, they're blowing smoke up your ass. And Turner was actually being truthful.
Because Michael doesn't trust Turner. He doesn't know him. So he's like, he could be trying to get me out. If I don't win a veto, he could be trying to get me out. I don't really know. I'm not Michael is in post pack, and he knows about Oasis, but he's not in Oasis. So he's like, okay, I'm aware of these things. I'm with the girls, kinda. I know about the girls' alliance, but I'm not in it. So he's like, they could be making a run for me, and we'll see how that goes.
Yep.
Ultimately, we got 2 episodes. A Turner HOH is an interesting thing, But before we get to the Turner HOH, I did this last Thursday. I'm asking you right now. What do you think? What would you rate on the scale of 1 to 10 Jasmine's HOH?
I'd have to give it like a 2.
Really?
I think so. Part of this is the fact that I'll lay it down. In her HOH speech, she says to the house that she's putting Taylor back up because she doesn't want to get any more blood on her hands, and she was already the previous HOH's target, which means you're not playing your own game, you're playing a scared game. Then when it comes time to do the veto competition, they gave her the option whether to play or not. If you want to stick to your guns of getting out your target, play in that competition so you can have all of the power if you win the veto. Instead, she opted not to play at all, which means she either feels very confident in this house or she doesn't care. And neither is very good.
She had the hurt ankle, though.
Yeah, but she wasn't using the ankle. She could have competed if she wanted. They slid around like mermaids on their knees.
Mm-hmm.
Her ankle was never going to touch the ground unless she put it on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So she basically, the way that I'm viewing this is if production tells her she cannot do it, she cannot do it. But if she wants to do it, she can do it. And she chose not to do it.
Right.
So I think that's real weak. Then when you're talking to the veto holder, it's not like you ever pushed him to use it, which means whoever you put up with, you were just pretty okay with going, which means you really wanted to get out Taylor, and that wasn't even your target. You just copied someone else's.
Okay. I can see that. I would have to rate it a 5 out of 10. Middle of the road. Because Pooch was coming for the girls.
Yes.
So getting rid of Pooch is a good move for you guys collectively. Taylor's trying to work with the girls. So keeping Taylor is a good move for you guys collectively. You don't have any relationship with Taylor, I know that. But you didn't have a positive relationship with Pooch. Though he thought he was making a game move, and he was. Take him out before he could the game move could really come to fruition for him. You know?
But Pooch came up and asked to go on the block. So you really did nothing by putting up 2 people on the block.
Right, but you still got out a target to your game in Pooch.
Yeah, I guess a lot of the knock for me comes from the fact that she sat out the veto.
Yeah, no.
But still, you didn't paint any targets of your own.
Right. But your team had targets, right? The girls had targets.
But that's why her HOH is a 2. For her alliance, it's a 5 or a 6.
But that's why. But that's why you have to look at the totality of it, right? She's here for her alliance. She's working with her alliance. For the alliance, it's a 5. So that means for her, it's a 5.
But if I'm in jury, she can't claim this was her move. It does nothing for your resume.
If you're in jury, you should not be claiming pre-jury moves anyway.
You shouldn't be, but that's how this season has been going.
Remember when I took out Pooch week 2? No, I don't remember when you took out Pooch.
No, I don't even remember what Pooch looks like anymore.
Pooch? Yeah, who's Pooch? So, who at this point in the game, Turner's HOH, who is playing the best game so far?
I'm gonna say Michael, because he just, by controlling the vetoes, he's having the right conversations with the right people at all times through the first 2 weeks.
I think at this point in the game, I think the person playing the best game at this point is probably Nicole. This is before the feed drop, but the reason it's Nicole is because Nicole got out a threat to her game in Pooch. She's got entered into an alliance, and she's sitting next to Taylor, who Turner is going to try to take out. So she's in a good spot.
Great spot.
With that, if you're tuning out now, time to take off. We'll be back on Wednesday with Sheldon and Mike, and they're going to be going through the Wednesday night episode. And then me and CJ will be back on Monday to take you through the live feeds of the weekend as well as the Sunday night recap. And I will be back along with Mike and Sheldon on Thursday to take you guys through the Thursday night live eviction episode. So catch us at those times. Make sure you like and subscribe. Get us a 250. You can get that beautiful golden power of Veto. CJ, where can they find you?
You can find me on all socials at Keyboard Sarcasm. Spoiler warning, I do tweet about the live feeds. So if you're a episode only watcher, check me out, but you may be learning some stuff early. But it's usually just jokes.
Show only. You can find me at KG Fury. I'm also tweeting about the live feed and the shows, and it's fantastic. So if you're dipping out now, go ahead and take off. If not, hang with us in about 10 seconds. We're going to get into the live feeds because stuff is going on.
Stuff has been popping off.
So hang tight. We're going to give you guys 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. CJ.
So is this the part now? Can we talk about all those people that left now? I'm ready to talk trash like they're Taylor.
Oh my gosh, dude. This house is insane. So catching you guys up to speed, currently Turner is the HOH. Michael and Brittany competed in the veto. The person that got picked for the veto was Nicole and Taylor.
Talk about, of all the people, like if I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm supposed to get rid of this woman, and now she's up here, like, what did I do? Who did I piss off for this to happen?
And so Nicole and Taylor end up getting picked for the veto competition. A lot goes on this day because this is Saturday. Currently, the plan is for Nicole and Taylor to lose to not win the veto competition, for Michael and Brittany to win, and then they're going to put up Taylor and Nicole. But I believe it was Friday night, or maybe it was Saturday night. The boys start thinking.
It was Saturday.
It was Saturday night.
Brain cells together.
Was it Saturday night or Saturday morning? Was it early Saturday morning at like 4?
It was late Saturday night into Sunday morning.
Okay, we have that right.
It was two nights in a row.
It was right, but the first night was that post veto. This is important. This is important to get it down because was this post or pre veto?
So the decisions were made post veto.
But was the maturation started? Was it percolated?
It started pre veto.
So before the veto is competed for, Monty and Kyle are not liking their positionings in Paloma's pack. With Nicole in there bossing them around, they're not liking that. They start talking to Turner, and they realize that they need to bring in Michael, Brittany. That's right, it is pre-veto, right? They need to bring in Michael, Brittany, and Taylor. Yes. That's who they need to work with. That's who they need to talk to because they need them in their group because they realize they're quickly outnumbered. The way they realize this is because Alyssa with her crush, as you saw in the episode, she told Kyle a little bit of flirtation, a little bit of getting to know him. What you didn't see is that she tells him about a new alliance that was formed called Old School. Old School was an alliance that has Terrence, Nicole, Daniel, Amira, Alyssa, and that's it. That's 6, right?
That's 5.
And Jasmine. And it's an alliance called Old School that was created in the last days of Jasmine's HOH. With Alyssa telling Kyle about Old School, he is concerned about this alliance. And he knows that it exists. In addition, Alyssa has told him about the Girls Alliance. So he knows that their days are numbered. They're trying to use, in addition, she has told Kyle that they're going to use Taylor as a weapon against the boys. So much information coming from Alyssa to Kyle, who she's not dating, voluntarily. Taking that information, Kyle goes to the boys and tells Turner and Monty and Joseph, boys, we're in trouble. According to all this information, we got a bunch of people coming for our heads, and we need numbers. So the boys form an alliance. That name escapes me at the moment. It's a 4-man alliance. Do you remember the name? I don't remember the name.
It wasn't important. They said it. I don't remember.
Yeah, but they're an alliance that was formed. They realized that they need to bring in Michael, Brittany, and Taylor because they're on the outside. Why have the weapon be used against us if we can take the weapon and redirect it?
Yep.
So they come up with this plan that they need to work with the 7 of them together, and with how the plan is shaken out, if Michael and Brittany win the veto, if they win the veto in terms of Turner and Jasmine, or if whoever goes up, whoever plays wins the veto, it'll get used because the plan is to put up Taylor and Nicole. But we're going to switch it up and we'll put up somebody else that's in old school, Amira and Terrence, because they're both in old school together.
Yes.
This is the plan. They need to talk to them. And now the internet's running wild because finally Joseph, at the age of 25, because today is his birthday, he has turned 25 at the stroke of midnight, and he is thinking. The boy's brain is percolating.
Can I talk about how it's become my favorite thing on Twitter that they now tag him as Joseph,
25.
parentheses 25.
Yep, Joseph 25. What's his face? Turner, clean. Those are the 2 things that you see all the time. Because Turner wasn't taking a bunch of showers, but now that he takes showers, he's thinking. His brain's working. The synapses are popping. The synapses are popping. He's like, we need to get some things going on here, right?
But this is what neither of the first 2 HOHs did. Use your position to increase your position in the game.
Mm-hmm. And
this must have been the first real HOH.
Jasmine did, because she was already in a good position. So she used it to solidify the girls even more by going for a guy. But she already had a decent position that was created by Paloma. But this is the first time Turner had nothing. Turner went in here that his only ally went home. So now he is aligned with the boys. Nicole's treatment of Monty and Kyle puts them on the outs, and they didn't like it. So they're on the outs of that alliance. They know that Michael wasn't involved with Oasis, but Michael has turned into a threat and a dangerous weapon that they can use.
Yep.
Brittany is a wild card that the girls have decided to discard. So by discarding her, they know that they can bring her in because they need her for numbers. And then you take the ultimate weapon, the person that has been admonished, she has been put down, she has been bashed by people in this group, mind you. Monty was a leader of this all season long that they are not showing you in the episodes.
Yeah, he's crying in the shower saying that he's doing this for Paloma, trying to take Taylor out.
Yeah, that's this man right here, right? Him, and then you have Turner, who has been, because Paloma hated her, Turner has hated her as well. You have these people that were working against her looking and saying, we need that weapon. Kyle and Michael have been trying to work with her all along because they've realized that she's not the weapon that they're saying that she is. She can be useful. She can be Joseph as well. They say they can be helped. She can be a help to them. So the boys come up with the new plan, and they're going to bring in these 3, but they need to talk to them to get it done. The next morning, the veto players are picked, and lo and behold, Nicole and Taylor are chosen to play in the veto competition. In between the time of the competition and being picked to play in the competition, Nicole goes to the diary room. While Nicole's in the diary room, she comes out and she's crying. What a lot of people didn't know was that Nicole's mother has been sick. And everyone thought the worst. She's crying. Monty informs Turner and Taylor, because they're talking in the HOH room, that she's crying. That Nicole is crying. Daniel stays in the room and talks to Nicole. And Nicole is upset because something happened in terms of questioning that makes her madder at Taylor for doing nothing. Taylor's done nothing, and she's madder at Taylor for no reason. And Daniel and Nicole have a nice little bash Taylor sesh like they like to do. Like they ought to do.
She, like I said, rent free. That's how she's living in that house.
Just living in their heads. So after this bash session, everyone is sitting in the living room, CJ, thinking that Nicole's mother might have passed or might have taken a turn in her health. Daniel comes out there and lets them all know. Everyone's sitting in the living room and lets them all know it's not her mother, something else. Everybody's breathing a sigh of relief. Everyone gives her hugs, tells her they're thinking about her. While they're having a bash session, though, before Daniel comes out the room, Taylor says to Monty, "I'm not religious, Monty, but can you pray with me for Nicole's mother?" While at the same time, Daniel's saying that Taylor is a terrible person, and America, if I'm wrong, America's going to have to tell me because she's a terrible person. You juxtapose those things together, CJ. She's asking to pray for Nicole's mother while Nicole is talking about how terrible of a person she is, along with Daniel. Explain that to me. I'm incensed.
I just don't understand. I don't understand how Paloma convinced them all to hate this woman within 12 hours and nobody had a conversation with her yet.
Right.
So, like, you don't even have confirmation bias because you haven't done anything to confirm it.
Right.
You just looked across the room and been like, yeah, nah, not for me.
Yeah. According to her, she's not for me, so she's not for me. According to her over here, who's not even in the house anymore. Paloma's gone.
Kevin, what if I told you, you know what? I don't like chicken wings, so you shouldn't like chicken wings. No more chicken wings.
I ain't eating chicken wings because CJ told me that he didn't like chicken wings, so I don't like chicken wings.
Yeah,
what sense does that make? It don't make none. But that's what has happened at this point. And that's what's crazy. Because with that is happening, when everyone is giving Nicole hugs and love, Taylor says, listen, man, off game. If you got to go home and take care of business, I'm not even going to be mad at you because I don't know what's going to happen to me because we're paired together. I don't know what's going to happen to me. But off game, if you got to go, got to go. Nicole twists that and says, you want me to quit the game? What the fuck, man? You want me to quit the game? And she goes at Taylor.
And that's what, as we talked about earlier, it makes me wonder, are you changing this edit because having this information, you're going to start showing her as more of a villain? Because her behavior the last week has really changed my perception of her.
Same. She's a cop through and through, man. And she's coming at her. And then apparently Daniel got involved, and Daniel tells Taylor that she's the reason for Paloma's mental break.
Which
that's
I know Taylor can't, but she should have slapped the shit out of him and gone home. That would have been worth $750,000.
It's insane. But Taylor is a nice person. Right. And she doesn't want to hurt anyone. So for them to be coming at Taylor like this, as if this was her fault, is insane. But it was great because it opened up the eyes of the boys. Joseph is watching this happen. Kyle was in the room when it happened. Monty is like, whoa, I see how this could snowball, and I see how I'm a part of this. Oh my gosh, this is insane.
And I love that it had to be that, like, unfortunately, it had to be that bad for them to open their eyes to see what they've been doing has been very wrong. Because one of the things, I know we haven't gotten there yet, but one of the things that Amira was saying today about Taylor was she's never bullied her. She's never said anything mean to her. Because there's, without giving too much away, Pooch's speech talks about bullying happening in the house in his post-veto speech. So she's crying saying this, not realizing that the first time Taylor went up when she was backdoored and you guys gave her the silent treatment for the rest of the day, how is that not bullying? You guys are all
Right.
teaming up against her to make her feel a certain kind of way.
It's a collective thought pattern. And even the ones that feel like they were innocent are also guilty because they stood idly by while it happened. And
Yes.
it's been happening to Taylor for the last 3 weeks. So Daniel and Nicole lighting into her for no reason is just par for the course. And so everyone stood idly by and watched it happen. But now the boys, now that they have a new incentive, they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. This is not okay.
Not at
This
all.
is not okay at all. And so the veto competition is held. Taylor has a terrible showing in the veto comp. Now, I don't know if Nicole threw it or not. We'll find that out on Wednesday. But they lose the veto comp, and Brittany and Michael win the veto. Once again, that's the third veto win for Michael. Brittany's her first veto win.
Can we add that we don't know whether she couldn't or she didn't, but Turner and Jasmine did not compete.
Jasmine passed out. That's what reports are.
There you go.
Jasmine passed out. So it was basically one-on-one, and Michael, and there was some kind of puzzle involved and the harness and stuff, but Michael and Brittany win, and now they're the veto holders. They're going to be using it on themselves, obviously. So the boys have decided that they're going to launch a campaign. They just got to bring in Michael and Brittany. I loved this that night. I was watching. I'm out of town, and I'm watching on the feeds as they bring in Michael and Brittany. And you got Joseph in there. You got Turner. You got Monty, and you got Kyle. And they're explaining to them. They said, welcome. Let me just let you know that y'all are on the outs just like us. And we want to bring y'all in. Because we can have, they're essentially like the TV show, The Boys, like the comic, The Boys. They're not a part of the group, the super group. So they're trying to form something on the outside.
To take the super group down.
Yeah. And so they bring in Michael and Brittany. They inform them about Oasis, and they tell them how they saw how everything was happening from the outside. They talk about how Monty and Kyle were pretty much strong-armed to doing the things that they wanted them to do last week in terms of getting out Pooch. But they know that they need to bring in Taylor because they need the numbers. There was a long saga that night, CJ, which was crazy, watching Taylor try to get up there. They told Taylor, we need to talk to you. We might have something for you. Taylor's very upset because she knows she's going home. She's going to go up and go home. And Monty says, you may not be going home. I see what's happening in this house. I got you. They bring her up there. Monty says, she was telling the truth all along. Because while the boys are putting their brain cells together.
So wait, he told them that?
Yes, because Taylor was telling the truth all along, not Paloma.
No, I know.
Yes,
I know.
So while they were putting their brain cells together that night, what happened was, because they got to the spot, but they got there a roundabout way. They're talking about Taylor, them needing the numbers. They talk about them getting Pooch out. Monty's like, oh shit. The girls are working together. Taylor did try to warn me, and Paloma lied to me, and they're trying to ostracize Taylor because she tried to warn me. And then that's when Kyle's brain snaps and says, Alyssa told me about the girls. If they got the girls, that means those girls were always working together. And she said Brittany and Taylor were left out. I mean, Nicole and Taylor were left out. And I'm watching them ostracize Brittany. And then that's when Monty's like, old school, though, because Kyle had told him about old school having Terrence, Daniel, Jasmine, Amira, Nicole, and what's her face? The other girl that I just forgot right now, Alyssa.
Mm-hmm.
Her telling about old school. Now, outside of the girls, Nicole is now insulated with old school, and they have the numbers with Terrence and Daniel, which leaves us on the outs. Joseph then goes, Brittany told Pooch that Amira was coming for him week 1. And then Pooch gets taken out week 2. And last week, Brittany was trying to tell me that Amira was coming for me, which means I was probably next. That night, the boys put all the stories together.
Which is a beautiful thing to see when you catch that live.
Yeah, which is why they're able to land on the fact that Brittany and Taylor have been trying to help us out all along. Partially true, but enough to get there.
Right.
And they were like, Michael's not in any of these groups, because I just named these groups. He's not in Oasis. They knew the boys group, not in Oasis.
Yeah.
Not in the girls.
He's not a girl.
Not in old school.
Because they know who was in that room.
Michael's had to fight for the veto already once. And the second time he didn't use it for nobody. We got to bring in Michael and Brittany, and we got to bring in Taylor. So that's how they got there. So fast forward to the next day. Taylor comes up to the room. They're excited. They're stoked. And they tell Taylor, we got something for you. You're not going up. And she's like, what's it? Even better, we got an alliance for you. Kyle passionately tells her a speech about how they've been on the outside. They've all been left out. They've been put on the sidelines for so long. Joseph says to Taylor something so elegant. He says to her, they want to use you as a shield. We want to use you as an ally. Beautiful. That's a beautiful line. Because
that's some lawyer logic right there, which I can't believe he might actually be one.
They were, and it's true because the girls had made it clear they were going to use her as a weapon. But they're like, we want to work with you. We need to work with you. Brittany, those girls, and then Brittany, those girls talk about you and they say you're on the outs. They were cool with you going home. They let Brittany know that if you guys didn't win veto, they were going to save Michael and they were going to send you out, Brittany. She's shocked, flabbergasted, had no clue that was going to happen.
Which is funny because Brittany's trying to build a lot of different relationships in this game, but she's not aware that she's just on the outs with a lot of people.
Correct. She wasn't before now. Michael, they said, Michael, they could have tried to flip it on you. They wanted me to put you guys up. That was the plan, and that if you guys didn't win the veto, so what? Taylor, the plan is for me to backdoor you and Nicole, with Nicole staying here because they have the votes between their group of old school and the girls.
In this room. And the people in this room.
They have between the old school and the girls, Taylor, they would have had the votes to keep Nicole and send you out. That's the plan. That's what they want me to do. That's not what I'm going to do. I want us to work together. We need each other because we're on the outs. And then that's when the boys let Turner know, and Brittany does as well, that Turner was going to be the next one out. That was the plan. That Turner, if he didn't win HOH, he was going to be the next one out. And he's like, oh.
How did they have that one? Because they were trying to get rid of him and Pooch together?
Yeah, because they had said that they were going to get Turner next. The girls told Monty and Kyle that. So they took all the stories, all the pieces, and built a puzzle. The puzzle wasn't perfect, but it fit. It fit. And so they lay out everything that was supposed to go on, and they say, we're the leftovers. We're the people that are left over just chilling on the sidelines. That's who we are. And we need to come together. We need to work together because we need each other because we don't have nobody else in this game.
Right.
And for me, the fact that Kyle and Kyle and Monty were laying out all the cards of everything they knew, including about everything Alyssa told them, about where Michael, Brittany, and Taylor's position was, where Turner's position was in this game. You know what I'm saying? Joseph, Brittany already told you what she knew, and she was already right about Pooch, with Amira coming from Pooch.
You know what the most beautiful thing about this is? When there's that many people in the room, you assume there's no way they're talking game, which allows an alliance of that size to hide in plain sight.
Sorta, because especially this late at night, it's you just think they're vibing out because there's more people sleep, so there's not people just around. So they bring this all together, CJ, and they lay it out for Taylor. Taylor says, I just have been just trying to get in with a group. And I wanted to be with the girls, but I'm in. She says I'm in. Kyle does some fist pumps. Joseph jumps off the bed. They look at Brittany. They look at Michael. They say, we are in too. There's a lot of hugs. There's celebration. And you feel it. You feel the energy because they have come together. They realize they had to come together. And then they do. So the new plan is to put up Terrence in a mirror and the back door the head of the snake in a mirror. They also say to Taylor, we've been watching the way you've been treated in this house and we're not going to stand for it no more. It's not okay. We watched what happened with Nicole and Daniel today. That's not okay.
Which only took 3 weeks.
They were a part of it. Then they realized that this is getting insane. Kyle was like, I was in the room and I know what you said. And if it was anyone else, if Alyssa said those words to Nicole, she would have been fine. But because you said it, I watched them twist it. And then Monty says to her, I already apologized to you, but I see how Paloma twisted it. Everything you say, they twisted.
Yep.
And you were right. They are coming for me. They are coming for the boys. Brittany, you were right. Pooch was a target for Amira. I was probably actually next, like you said.
Yep.
And then Turner says, come to think of it, when I won HOH, nobody was really happy. Brittany then says, when me and Michael won, none of them girls came and hugged me. None of them were happy for me. Y'all right. We're together. They form a new group, CJ. It's called The Leftovers.
Yep.
The Leftovers.
So I woke up Sunday morning and people are talking about The Leftovers and the game got flipped. And I'm like, it's 8 a.m. on Sunday. What did I miss? Because these tweets are from 3-4 hours ago.
Happened at 4 o'clock in the morning Pacific time. It came together. And this is what's going to save Taylor and Brittany's game. Now, in order for it to happen, though, you got to start laying the groundwork.
Yep.
So last night, Turner lets Alyssa know he doesn't like the way Taylor been treated. He just doesn't. He's not feeling it. Okay, cool. The plan's the backdoor Amira and Turner. Yes. And then Terrence. Amira and Terrence. The back door, everything's working out. They told Taylor to just sulk and pretend like you're sad because you're going home. So yesterday, she laid around all day. Jasmine had to come in and ask her, does she want to go outside? The girl pretended. The girl acted. She played her part. Everything went according to plan. Today, right before the veto ceremony, Turner calls Daniel to the HOH room and tells him, hey, I know you're not going to like this, but things aren't going to go according to plan for you. You're not going up, but I don't like the way that Taylor's been treated in this house. She's been bullied. She's been picked on, and I'm not going to be here to stand for that. And I'm not going to be a part of it. So I will not be putting Taylor up. I'm not going to tell you who I'm putting up, but I'm not putting Taylor up. In that moment, right after he had that conversation, feeds cut. It is time for the veto ceremony.
Yeah, I was like, this is getting good. And now I'm looking at kittens and puppies because that's what they show on the feeds whenever they're having a meeting or a competition.
Yeah, when they're filming something for the game. So, CJ, they didn't want the blind side to be ruined. And so they cut it in without enough time for Daniel to go say nothing to nobody.
No, it's great. So we weren't chatting yet, but I'm watching the feeds right before it cuts, and you have that conversation, and you literally have on the other feed Jasmine talking about how she needed to put pants on because she was in her bikini because they were just hanging out, having a good time. They assumed they were going to have time to get ready before they called the meeting. That didn't happen. They went. It looks like they just went straight into their sequester.
So we come back from the veto meeting, and all hell is broken loose. In Turner's speech, he says, bullying, the way Taylor's been bullied, is not okay. And he's going to be putting up Amira and Terrence on the block. You come up, Jasmine's crying, Indy's crying, Amira's crying. Terrence is telling Amira, I'm bowing out. I'm going to go home. I want you to be in this house. Sorry, brother. You don't have a fucking choice in this. Okay?
Yeah. He's like, I'm not going to lobby against you. You don't need to.
Yeah. It's already, her fate's been sealed already. It's already been decided. She's crying. Everybody's crying. The leftovers are like, man, what happened? What happened?
All 7 of them need Oscars. Because they were in the room with Amira. They're in the room with Terrence having conversations, trying to let them know.
They're all trying to figure out what happened.
Yeah, I mean, you have Michael, Brittany, Kyle, and Taylor sitting on Amira's bed with their as she cries, trying to comfort her. Meanwhile, in the backyard, you have Monty and Terrence having a one-on-one where
Monty and Terrence is like, Taylor did it again. She done turned. And then Monty's like, oh, dang, I didn't even think about that. Because once again, the move is to just bully Taylor, right? Yeah. That's the move. Even though you just got read a referendum about bullying Taylor, the move is to continue to bully Taylor, I guess.
My favorite is Terrence called Taylor a monster for being able to do this. What did she do? She literally did nothing. Why is she a monster?
Right. And then Monty is doing a great job making sure everyone knows that Turner has some domestic violence and some like bullying throughout his life. And so his speech, it hit personally when he was watching it happen to Taylor. Now, Turner said, it's playing up a little bit, but it's fine. So they're playing that up. And that's how they're like making movements. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And then people are like, oh, I didn't know. So there's bullying that's going on. And they're all trying to figure out who's the culprit because Turner is having these one-on-ones and he's talking to prime Taylor bullies and says, I saw bullying, not you. Not you, but other people. Jasmine. He tells Jasmine's hot. She's mad. She's like, you blindsided me. And he's like, look, man, there's bullying. Not you, Jasmine. Not you. Not you. When it was her. Yeah. And
hey, we're good. Turner is not confrontational.
Yeah,
he's going to speak in generalities and let you figure it out.
He talks to Daniel, who lit into her on Saturday, and says, I see people bully Taylor. Not you, Daniel. I'm not talking about the stuff you did. But I've seen people do it. And then everyone in confrontation, people calling her a bitch and an asshole, and they're just calling her all these names. I'm not here for it. Same thing happens with Nicole. He tells Nicole, not you. I know y'all got into it. Not you. Not you. Which leads everyone on a witch hunt where they have their guns pointed at Indy. Indy has the reason, because I guess Indy at one point said she was going to throw her soup in her face.
Yeah, with all the Taylor hate, that's just par for the course if that's true. Yeah. And I haven't seen it.
But Thomas here in the chat, Thomas Scott said, Amira's like, who's bullying Taylor? Everyone, man. Everyone. You all been there.
Every single person has been bullying Taylor. And I don't know if they're just in denial or too dumb to realize it. But the fact that they're just like, I can't believe this speech. Obviously, it was Indy. Indy caught every single stray. It was like they were homing bullets. Going straight at her.
Early, and then late, Alyssa was like, oh, I think I might have told Terrence. I think I might have told Turner about some girls. Like, oh, look at Alyssa, loose lips Alyssa over here telling everybody's business. My favorite, and I don't know if this is planned, we're going to find out tonight, but my favorite move today, CJ, was Turner telling Jasmine, 3 people knew. And she's like, who knew? He's like, well, I can only tell you that Daniel knew. He told Daniel moments before,
Yeah.
but everybody's like, Daniel knew all along? Daniel knew all along?
Well, it's great because watching the girls sit there, they were on the hammock after Nicole blew up at Alyssa today because Alyssa almost repeated something nasty Nicole said about Indy.
Right. These girls, they've just been tearing each other apart this whole time with Taylor being the main point. I mean, Thomas again in the chat says, Amira can't just let it slide that she said something about Taylor's mom. Like it's been happening. And yesterday, Thomas mentions again that yesterday, Amir said that this is too easy. Well, sorry, baby. It's not too easy. You are in trouble. Trouble with a capital T. And you think Terrence is going to be the one going home? Alyssa, did you see that part? When Alyssa comes in there and they're like, man, we wanted Terrence to get to jury. We're so sad. Listen, baby, Terrence is getting the jury. Amir, you going home this week?
They're so bad. I think my favorite was watching Jasmine, Alyssa, and Amira sitting on the ground outside after, and they're like, maybe it was Daniel. Really? Because you guys were just railing about how Indy screwed you. Now you think it might have been Daniel because Jasmine had just gotten that little nugget that Daniel knew, and now they think Daniel was somehow the mastermind of this move.
It's beautiful because the leftovers, only Taylor's being blamed for somehow wiggling her way out of this, but they're blaming Alyssa. They're blaming Indy. They're blaming they're Daniel. They're blaming Nicole as well because Nicole has gone undercover. She's gone as an undercover cop. She's no longer working with anyone. She's off the beat. She's doing what she's got to do because she feels like she can't trust nobody anymore. So she is left and gone on her own solo mission. You know what I'm saying? And
well, it's funny. They were mad at Daniel for somehow saving Nicole and therefore Taylor. They think that he cut a deal.
Yes, he like went up there and made a dirty deal with Turner because they're like, who does Turner even talk game with? Daniel. That's right. Week 1, he talks some game with Daniel. Yep. That's his best friend now that Pooch is gone. It has to be Daniel. And so they're just playing detective. Now, Dick Sargent has says here in the chat, psychological warfare is a part of the game. Remember, Evil Dick, I agree that psychological warfare does work, but what they were doing to Taylor is not psychological warfare. That was bullying.
Yeah, 100%. It was orchestrated in tandem.
And it was because they were teaming up and working together. Season 19 had a lot of bullying too, and that was not okay with me either. I'm not a fan of Josh Martinez at all because of what happened in that season, right? Pots and pans, all that kind of stuff. When everyone's working together to do it, it's bullying. When Dick by himself is banging pots and pans to try to and telling people to vote him out when Danielle's on the block, where that is to me psychological warfare. I'm good with that. That is a single individual trying to do what's going on. But when a whole group of people are doing it together, it is just bullying. And that's what they've been doing to Taylor. And finally, the boys are standing up. Apparently, did you hear that Taylor teared up during the speech?
I did hear that. And I'll tell you, all afternoon, I have never seen her more relaxed in that house. She was just lounging, having a good time. You could see them scrambling in the background behind her as she laid out in a pool chair. It was amazing. Because
they're all trying to work around her, trying to figure it out. And last night, as everyone was coming clean in the group, in the leftovers, and they told each other about Paloma's pack and all that group and all the stuff, Brittany told Taylor, every time you walked out the room, they made fun of you. Whenever you walked into a room, people ran away. People have been making snide remarks about you the whole time you've been in this house. So you can't trust any of them.
Right.
And that made her peep the game. She realizes that these people are the ones looking out for me. These people that I thought were looking out for me, F them, right? This is why it's crazy to me that they're not showing this or none of this on the episode. So I don't know how they're going to explain the leftovers. I don't know how they're going to explain the Samira twist. It's going to be crazy come this weekend. But right now, if you have the feeds, make sure you're checking out the next couple days because it's insane. Amira's going home. Amira is going home. There's the numbers. Did you see Nicole today?
At what point?
Nicole, CJ, said that she wants to flip it onto Amira to go.
I don't understand.
Did you see that, though?
I did not see that, and I don't understand how she got there.
Amira and Daniel are talking. Daniel and Nicole are talking. And with everything going on, self-preservation, Nicole wants Amira to go and Terrence to stay. With that being the case, she's talked to it with Daniel a little bit. Daniel's like, how? The numbers aren't there. She's like, I know, I wish the numbers were there. I think the leftovers are going to convince Nicole it was her idea to get Amira out and that they're willing to be on board.
I think that's the perfect way to go. No blood on anybody's hands.
Yes. Skate. And then when they ask about it next week, Nicole flipped the vote. Flipped the vote. You know what? We got to put Daniel and Nicole up on the block. That's the move.
I just love them working rooms, tagging people in and out of shifts to console Amira and Terrence.
Brittany being in there, Joseph coming in, Brittany leaving the room. Yeah. Joseph going on and on. Joseph talked for a little bit too long, so it should have made it a little suspicious. But Amira was in her feels right then, so she's like, he's scrambling. He's concerned. Everything sounds wild and rogue. No one knows what's going on. You got Monty talking to Terrence. Then Terrence talks to Turner. Turner keeps the same line. Turner sitting in the same spot, going over the same game moves. It was time and time. And as Dick says, now that's psychological warfare. That is psychological warfare. That's okay. That's what was happening. The seven of them are lock, stock, and barrel, while Taylor gets to finally get a day of peace. Finally, the young woman has a day of peace, while the other six went to work. The other six went to work for her. And if you can get Nicole to flip this vote, I want to say this again for the listening audience. If you can get Nicole to quote unquote flip this vote to get Amira out, which is what the plan is already, oh, that lines up Daniel and Nicole for the next shot. And the leftovers get to be the main course.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
I was so excited watching today because it was I feel like it was the first day they were actually playing the game.
First day of Big Brother, baby. First day of Big Brother, last day of Bully Taylor. Because I think they're gonna realize they can't just be bullying Taylor no more.
I mean, we'll see on the feeds because they've been cutting a lot of conversations because people just been bullying her. She might have to start paying rent in that house.
I love the fact that everything is pretty methodical because, as Thomas says in the chat, he thought that Turner ruined it last night when he said that he was going to let Alyssa know a little seed, a little nugget. And I thought he messed it up too. I thought this was going to be a terrible idea. When he tells Daniel, I'm like, no, you're ruining the blind side. And the feeds felt the same way because they cut him immediately and they make him do the HOH competition right after he tells them. But if this was all planned so that way Daniel's the scapegoat, because I have to say that it might have been a little planned because he says 3 people knew. He only says, well, I told Daniel. And he's the only name that he gives up.
And I love Jasmine complaining later on in the afternoon. He could have given me a heads up. For what? Just because you're besties doesn't mean you're playing together.
Why would I give you a heads up? Why?
Yeah.
Especially because earlier in the week, over the weekend, she's the one that told him that Taylor's the one that flipped the vote to save herself and sent Pooch home because they just wanted to put it on Taylor.
Yeah.
Come on. Turner ended up getting some brain cells Saturday morning, along with all lined up with Joseph 25's birthday. Everything came together as a nice little cake right there. Kyle got the passion. Michael got the veto wins. Taylor got the bullying. Everything has come together, and the leftovers are the feast. and I'm loving it. Man, oh man, oh man.
Today was wild. And I can't wait to see how they cut this up together in the 20-ish minutes we're going to get on Thursday.
Yes. I want to see how this goes. This is we got General Joe out there. We got General Joe, according to Felix. He's been out there putting all the moves together. Thomas says this reminds him of BB6, and it does, with Kaser and all of them having to go against that other alliance. It was so crazy. I was loving it. It was crazy. And now a lot of people are going to say the leftovers. There's people on the internet saying the leftovers better than level 6, better than the cookout. Not even close.
No, man, this is an alliance of last resort.
Right. Now, Dick is right, though. This is some psychological warfare, and they went to work. And they're going to have to work for the rest of this week. I just need one of them to hear Nicole say that she wants to vote out Amira. Because the moment you get that piece, you get it going. And then when you vote, and you're like, Nicole said we're voting out Amira. That's what we're doing.
I followed the plan.
Yeah,
Nicole gave me the plan. I followed the plan.
Yeah. So needless to say, Paloma's pack, done. Paloma's posse, whatever, done. Right?
Yep.
Girls, done. Done?
But they don't know they're done.
Done. They don't trust each other, right? Girls, done. Old school, done. Only thing that's left is the leftovers. When you finish eating and you're full, all that's left is the leftovers, baby.
And I hope they actually stick together till 7.
I hope so too. I know originally they were talking about taking out Taylor earlier, but I hope now they're like, you know what? Let's go ahead and work with this.
Yeah.
Dick right here in the chat says the feeds sound like a whole different show than what gets aired on CBS.
Guess
and
what,
my
Dick?
guy Dick, it is. The show that you're watching on TV is not the show that's happening on the feed, at least not this season. I don't know why. I don't know how. But CJ and I, every Monday night, are going to be here to tell you about what we got because we're here watching the feeds. We're watching the episodes. We're loving it. This is the first day this season that I've been excited.
Same.
I was starting to hate watch it. You know what I'm saying?
If Taylor would have went home instead of Pooch last week, it probably would have been a hate watch for me.
That's exactly what Thomas said right there in the chat. If Pooch doesn't go home, this doesn't happen. Joe, Turner, and Monty don't realize that they're screwed and that Taylor was right all along. That is the truth. Thomas ain't never said truer words. And with that, we're going to see what happens the rest of the week. Amira's going home. Terrence thinks he's going home because he thinks he controls that. You don't. So
wait, I do have a question based off of Thomas's comment about, Taylor goes home. This never happens. Do you think we can get some Taylor was right merch, like Thanos was right from the MCU?
If we need to make it ourselves and put the For the Fans logo on it, we might need to. We need to have 2 hats that says Taylor was right, Brittany was right.
I'm wearing it every week. Every week.
We need to get those made. CJ, where can the people find you while you're tweeting about the live feeds? Dick, if you're not watching, Dick Sargent, if you're not watching, at least follow us on Twitter. KG Fury for me. CJ, you're at
Keyboard Sarcasm.
We're going to be tweeting about the live feeds. We're going to be watching the live feeds. Once again, Sheldon and Mike will be back on Wednesday to go through the episode and the veto episode. You're going to hear exactly how the veto ceremony went down. You'll catch me back on Thursday with Mike and Sheldon, and maybe and not CJ this week, but Mike and Sheldon. You can catch us there. We're on all socials. Subscribe. 250. We're gonna give away a veto. This has been great. This has been the greatest live feed update episode, part of the episode that we've ever done. Thank you for joining us, and coming to you from outside the Big Brother house, but on the live feeds. Love each other and whatever other things Julie says that are nice. Peace.